All right. Well, hello, everybody. Tonight is the 7th of February. Dallas Personal Robotics Group. We're going to chat about robots and whatever else crosses our minds tonight. Not very much of a formal agenda. We do have 2 people in queue and then open mic night. So with that, we have at first Doug, and then Pat, and then whoever else wants to go, open mic. So, Doug, what you got?
Well, like I said, I just wanted to show a particular new part that I thought would fall into a lot of people's interest area. So here, I'm going to go ahead and present. Okay. All right. It's a linear array solid LED LiDAR. It goes from 1 inch to about 12 inches. Reasonably priced, $35. Claims it has a field of view of up to 100 degrees. It seems to be made specifically for, things like, mobile vacuum cleaners.
Did you say about a foot? It should be 300 millimeters should cover a foot.
Right, that's what I said. Anywhere from an inch to a foot.
Inch to a foot, yep.
Yeah, that's the way I read it. And
yeah.
Did you see how many points are there in the array?
Let's see if we can find some information here.
That looks like a line lens. It's a Fresnel lens. I'm wondering if it's just that thing that I did with the laser and the line lens.
Okay, let's see here. Here's it has an SDK, and here's I don't see a spec sheet. Well, here it is, data sheet. Let's see what
Can you put that link in the chat?
Let me put this first. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll put that.
I found it for you, Doug.
Okay.
I found it, Doug. Here he goes.
Always looking for a unicorn sensor, so
yeah,
something that'll take care of all our troubles.
Foot's a little short though.
Well, I was thinking about it. If it could give you 100 degrees, that's pretty good. And let's see what it says here. All right, so it's going to talk about product features, applications, installation.
Yeah, it would make a good bumper sensor.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you put 2 at the front of a robot at about a 45-degree angle, you could end up with a decent sensor.
Yeah. Well, they're saying it could. High resolution of ranging angle up to 0.6 degrees. The smallest object it can do detect is 3 millimeters, which is really good.
Yeah.
Okay, it has a wide detection range and no blind zone up to 100 degrees. It has detection range, blind zone. Oh, otherwise, if it gets too close, it can't see it. That's, I think, what they're trying to tell you there.
Kind of looks like 2 camera sensors at an angle. And
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and a laser with a line.
I'm hoping they'll give us a better picture. It looks like they're talking about you putting 2 of them at 45. This must have been what Pat was talking about. And you put them at 45 degrees, and so they're gonna overlap at some distance. I don't know how far you could do that math. Let's see. Okay, here we go. 28 hertz. Field of view. Where's the? I wonder if that range times per second and the frequency change in real time. So I guess what it's saying is that it actually is 20. You can actually read it 28 times per second.
That'd be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
not bad. Close to 30.
yeah. Let's see here. 3.3 volt system. Looks like wake up current of 240 milliamps and a working current of 100. That's not horrible, you know.
Mm.
Of course, you'd want to know what sort of light it needs, brightness or darkness, or you know, and what sort of surfaces it can reflect off of, and that sort of thing. But
yeah, it looks like it's a serial output.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was curious of what their baud rate is, but let's see. Oh, here it is. It's a maximum of 1,500,000 baud bits per second. That's pretty good.
yeah,
And that would go with probably with the 28. I mean, if you go in a whole array and you're sending it out 28 times a second, you really need to be rocking on the serial port. So let's see.
yeah. So reading 0.6 degrees, that's what, 150 points in 100 degrees, something like that.
Well, let's just say 100 divided by 0.6. It's 166 and a half, 167.
Yeah,
Okay, so
28.
yeah.
Yep.
Now it looks like okay, Ray, you know your nanometers. This is beyond red. So
Yeah, the 800 is definitely infrared. So.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that might be why they're not talking about the light, Ted.
Yeah. So it may work outside, but it may have trouble with sunlight.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Infrared sensors outdoors generally have trouble.
Not so good.
Yeah.
Be better in low light or dark conditions.
Okay, let's see here. Anything in here? No, it's just a revise. Okay, so that's their spec sheet. Let's see if we can.
What's the resolution on the distance measurement?
Well, it says 0.6 degrees, and I'm assuming, which makes you, you know, have to. Oh, here it's 80% reflectivity.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that you get an array of, you basically get an array of pixels back, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So there it says 3% error. Plus or minus 3 degrees angle.
Yeah, and the last from 8 to 12 is a little worse.
So you get like 1 8-bit byte back for each pixel?
I'm assuming you'd get a distance back, like,
Looks like-
you know, distance and an angle.
Yeah, 3 millimeters error at 100 millimeters. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna give you a number less, probably between 1 and 100 or something.
It's been a while, but I mean, God, I don't know how long, maybe 5 years ago now. It kind of demonstrated that with one of these. It's a laser with a Fresnel line lens on it. So, and you can get them at different widths. So you're, you know, like, I think this one is either 90 or 120 degrees. But that with, you know, with the laser or sorry, the camera up above, probably maybe 8 inches, and the laser just pointing out horizontally, it would go like 15 feet. And the darker the room, the better. I never tried it outside. So, but I did a presentation on it. It's been a long time ago.
Well, they're talking about, their use in the robot or in the, sorry for scrolling so fast. There it is. They're actually showing 2. You see, to give them essentially, so they're going to see 200. You're going to have to take a band out of 25 millimeters. I don't know where, like I said, you'll have to do the math depending on the radius of the unit to see where they cross up here. So there'll be one dead spot right there, right in the center, up close. All right, so let's go take a peek if we can. If I can go back here. Let's look. Okay, they have a couple of things. Let's look at the user diagram. It's going to force me to do that. Okay.
You have to download it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what they're going to tell us here. How to use it. How to use it with Ross.
There's a section on ambient lighting, and basically says it's an indoor sensor. Don't use it in strong sunlight. Don't aim it at the sun.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Section 4.2 or 4.3, I think it was.
Is that the one that says don't use it in the floor of the Perot Museum in downtown Dallas? Where all the sunlight pours in?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's look at, let's slide down here and see what we got. Okay. Well,
Yeah, I had
apparently,
fun like that with the robot in an aerospace museum once.
Oh, yeah.
Big windows.
Yeah. Nice for lighting, but that's the problem. Nice for lighting. So I have to say, I found the data sheet more interesting than this one.
you did. Well, I was wondering if they had some typical use. Oh,
No.
yeah, here they got some sort of scanning.
There's
So they have a scanning demo,
Yeah.
and it looks like it shows a line.
No one else wanted it. Okay. Hey. Yeah. I had all those sticky rice, but I'm going to save that.
Give me a second.
Thanks.
Okay, so what do we see in here? Okay, so at 160 ranges. So does that mean it's receiving 160 values?
Probably.
And it looks like I see numbers up here in the 172, whatever's. So maybe these are in millimeters.
Millimeters, yeah, maybe.
And let's see. Well, that's not much in there. All right, let's look at the SDK then. See, wait a minute. Oh, hold on a second.
Yeah, try the data sheet first, because the SDK and the others are raw. They want to be expanded.
Wait a minute. What did I do? Did I just get rid of it?
Control Shift T will bring it back. Control Shift T.
Control Shift T.
Yeah. That opens the last closed tab.
Not. Let me do this.
Oh, that's a cool.
I think I'm going to have to go back here and get it.
All right. There you go.
Okay, now let's see. I swear that I thought that said that it had examples. Maybe that's what okay, that's probably, all right, now I know what the SDK is, I bet. I bet it's just that, oh man.
It's the RAR file with all the stuff in there.
Yeah.
Doug, you may have the record there for the most number of tabs open.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
He
Can't
can't
hold the candle.
Yeah. Let's see. How can I do this easily?
See, I see Facebook Messenger in there and some SciPy
Yeah.
tools. And
Show in folder. I'll go to PayPod. Extract your smart. I should put it available in there somewhere. Okay, guys, I'm pulling out. Damn, where did it go?
A lot of icons too on the desktop.
Yeah, that I gotta fix.
That's all yours, Doug.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so let's see what they got here. Okay, they have a README. See what that says.
Oh.
that looks different.
They have a whole family of products, don't they?
Yeah, it looks like it. Well, not a whole lot of info though in that one. Okay, let's close that down. Okay, let's kind of look at a sample and see what it says. Okay. TOF, time of flight test. T-mini test. These are different LiDARs. I don't know if this is, Well, let's see what the APC test is.
Oh, so is this one time of flight?
I'm sure it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think so. If they're using camera sensors, I think they're using like the angular difference between
angles.
It's basically
Yeah.
Principle of triangulation, it says.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
So it's not
All right.
time of flight.
I don't think so.
Well, okay. That's not
must
time of
be-
flight.
Different one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, since it looks like that's a case of that looks like a case of this must be kind of generic. I think they might be getting that. Remember in the other one we were looking at, they showed like a polar plot. I suspect that polar plot program is somewhere in here, and that you're using that. Anyway, so be it. I think that was pretty much all I had to say on that. But anyway, I thought, that's kind of interesting. I mean, what was it? $35, $40. It's not totally out of range. Anyway, something to think about.
Sounds like a great indoor sensor.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that was pretty much the extent of what this week. I've been helping my daughter doing plumbing in her project house. And I tell you what, there's nothing worse than plumbing.
Done with plumbing.
Oh, I hate it. Absolutely. It's one of those things, you do everything and it leaks. And you do everything again and it leaks. And just getting the last drop out is always a pain in the butt. So
You turn it on and it sprays all over the room.
no, it's like 5 minutes and then there's a drop.
Oh,
But we're talking about a house that is abandoned 99% of the time. So if you have a drop every 5 minutes, that's way unacceptable. So anyway, I'm
talking about like sweating, copper pipes or using PEX.
Well, I hate to say it, but I suspect that, this is just a piece of information. If you're going to go put in a new faucet, unless you've done this recently, you're replacing something that's pretty new, then you always want to replace the input valves. You always want to replace the feed lines. Then you want to do the faucet. You don't want to just hook up to your 30-year-old valve, because you'll probably find that it doesn't even really turn off, And so, and in her case, this is out in the country someplace, and even knowing how to turn the water off was a major. How are we going to do this? But anyway, that's enough of that non-robot stuff. So who's next?
I think Pat had something.
Okay, Pat.
Yeah.
So I've been starting to frantically worry about the spring contest.
Okay.
So it's time to get going, and I've been working on the CanBot.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially robot type form.
Mm-hmm.
Raspberry Pi motor driver. So I'm trying to get my motor driver working, and I've written a new timed interrupt for my motor routine. And so far I'm getting a send command out of it, but I don't know what's going on. I should be getting a watchdog timer, because I'm not receiving any communication over USB. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on, why I'm not failing. I'm not getting a beep or anything. So I just started testing that tonight. So
okay, so this is all going to be Raspberry Pi driven.
Well, I'm looking at it, and the Raspberry Pi is a little bit big on it, and so I've ordered out of China, slow boat from China, a Banana Pi M20. So it's equivalent approximately to a Raspberry Pi 2W, which Raspberry Pi I think is 02W, which is unobtainable, as all Raspberry Pi products pretty much are right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's the size of a Raspberry Pi Zero. It's got a quad-core processor on it, and essentially I'm just hoping to be able to run VNC and Linux on it, or VNC and Python on it, and just go from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What I did discover is Doug and I both have used these little USB connectors for connecting to a solid-state drive.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a stripped down solid state drive on this one to save some space. It was a 2.5-inch drive, and it's been tore apart, and it's working really well with the Raspberry Pi 3B+. I had this guy, and we had talked about these guys with the little M.2 drives in them,
mm-hmm.
and which is working really well on my Raspberry Pi 4. On a Raspberry Pi 3, after a couple of minutes, the drive just disconnects. And I don't know if it's a dragging down the voltage issue, because I do get, just with the drive plugged in, I do get a low voltage warning on the Raspberry Pi.
Mm-hmm.
But the drive has been disconnected is the error I get. And of course, everything hangs up. So I've tried 2 different drives. And I said, well, maybe it's the enclosure, the case with the adapter. And I've been running it for days on a Raspberry Pi 4 without an issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, Pat, I've now, okay, I'm not using the one that's like this anymore. Okay, because it takes more power. All right. And it's way bigger than I don't know I don't know what size this is. It could probably half a terabyte. So it's not, you don't need it. And so I've been using these 128s. Oh, see if I can find one. Okay, here's one. And when you open this up, just this little dinky. Can you see it? It's right here. It's just a little card.
Yep.
And
It's okay, Topa.
that one is.
You have it just below the field of view of your camera.
Yep.
Is that an M.2 format?
That's what I'm using. It's an M.2 format.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's they come in two flavors. They come in multiple flavors, but
Yeah.
they come in a Seda, which is the older style.
Yeah.
And then they come in something called N something.
NVMe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
this
what
one
these
is,
are.
that's
This
what
is
this
an-
one is. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
this
I've
is
had
an
no
NV
trouble with it. I run it for days.
on a Pi 3 or a Pi 4.
Pi 4.
Try running it on a Pi 3.
Okay.
Let me know how you make out, because
Okay. And
I can't go 20 minutes.
Okay, I have a SATA one.
We just lost you, Doug.
If you want to avoid an under voltage warning on any Raspberry Pi, especially a Pi 4, I've been reading constantly on the Raspberry Pi forums on Facebook about the under voltage complaint. And basically the consensus is that you need a power supply that can supply 5.2 volts at 3 amps.
Yeah.
If it's just 5 volts, it's almost always going to give you an under voltage warning on a Pi.
Yeah, so even the original, like if you buy an actual Raspberry Pi, whatever they are, 3 amp or 3.5 amp power supply, and they're only putting out 5.1 volts, I believe. And
you need 5.2 to guarantee you don't get an under voltage warning.
Yeah. So, but that's where the Raspberry Pi 3 Plus, 3B Plus I'm using. I've got with the SATA drive I'm using, I don't get an under voltage warning. When I do use the M.2, I get an under voltage warning consistently. Like it pops up on the screen, you turn it off. Pops up on the screen, you turn it off, and then eventually it disconnects the drive. So I'm guessing there's a surge of enough current that it lowers the voltage and it disconnects the drive. And so I thought it was strange. I tested the same enclosure, same drive. I just put the new I just put the image I had backed up for my Raspberry Pi 4 robot, and everything has been good. It's been running for days. I just shut it down to show you guys the drive.
Okay. One of the things that I did find was when I'm running the Raspberry Pi 3, is to go ahead and use a Raspberry Pi 4 power supply with a adapter, USB-C to
The micro.
And that allows you to use the higher powered Raspberry 4 power supply, and that seemed to help a little bit. So something that, with the low voltage warnings, I'm just saying. And I do have a 3. I'll put it on there. In fact, you can.
I was going to say, you don't lose your fingerprints if you touch it, do you?
You see, you can see I'm using the adapter to it. This is one with the what is this? We bought it just recently.
Oh, the
TF, yeah,
the time of flight distance sensor.
Right, I was using it on that. So I'll plug it in, and I'll do it while we're running, and we'll see if it makes it through the meeting. How's that?
Okay, that's
okay.
like I say, I couldn't get it to keep running, and maybe it is just a different power supply. I'm using is a Canakit, makes a power supply, and they're one of them that's recommended for the Pis, and it was recommended for the 3B Plus, and that's what I was using. But no luck with it. But that may be an idea to switch it to the Raspberry Pi 4 power supply, and with an adapter.
The 3 power supply is I think a 2.5 power. Yeah, 2.5.
That's a 4.
3. That's a 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the 3. If you look at the power supply that they did with the 3, it was only 2.5 amps, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna start unplugging stuff here and move it over. One thing is there's no USB 3 on a Raspberry 3.
It's good so far. I do have a Raspberry Pi 4 power supply, 3 amps.
Yeah.
But I don't have an adapter.
Yeah.
I've got an adapter the other way.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to tell you on that one. Okay, I'm plugging it in.
I guess that little adapter is going to get pretty warm. It's not really made to handle that current, is it?
Some of them are.
Are they?
I don't think it draws. I don't think it's drawing 3 amps 100% of the time. I just think some of the operations take a huge surge in current, where you've got a board drawing 150 milliamps most of the time, average. But certain operations, certain things, they'll cause it to draw peaks of 3 amps.
Let's see if it.
One thing I wanted to do was get one of those little adapters that'll tell you, what your average current is.
Yeah.
USB tester kind of thing.
I actually had one of those, and I wanted to use it on testing a new power supply. I just picked up a new Raspberry 4 one that's actually rated at 5.1 volts and 3.5 amps, supposedly a little more current. And I just wanted to see how it did. And I haven't really had it. I was looking for something that I could put a load on. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. All right. And I owe you guys the link from the DFW stuff.
Carl put the link for that sensor.
Oh, he did? Okay.
LiDAR, yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Oh, why am I not seeing?
I'm going to go see if I can find an adapter as well, and maybe try swapping that out and seeing if I can get that going at this end with that.
Oh, why not?
More juice. While you're doing that, Doug, Pat, should we see if there's anyone else who wants to jump in queue?
I could show you something real quick. Should I?
I think so.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Okay, so I'm pursuing, I guess I'm calling it the can puffer approach to 6-can and can soccer. And I looked at, Carl suggested, it's like basically a tire inflator for bicycle tires. And they're not bad. It looks like they produce enough pressure. I'm not certain if I could get 6 bursts of air out of it, enough to blow the cans across. So I started looking around, and let me see if I can go to present mode. Okay. Anyways, looking on Amazon, and these are this was the one that I was looking at. It's got a cutoff switch for maximum pressure and a pressure gauge and a drain and ports. So that one's a half gallon, and there's also one that's a gallon, and they're good for like 115 psi or so, or up to 130. Let's see if I can find one. Okay, that's a 1.5 gallon. That's a little bit too big. It seemed like if I can find the one that I'm looking for. Okay, come on, where are you? They make them in several different sizes. And they are, apparently you can use them for air horns. You can use them for, you know, like air ride suspensions, that kind of thing. Let's see, is that one? Trumpet, air horn. Okay, now it's demo effect. I can't find the one that I was looking at before. Anyway, they make a one that's a 1 gallon. And, you know, physically it's about the right size. I could sit it on a robot. It's basically just twice as long as this one. And, you know, it has all the connections that you'd want to it. And so what I would do is pressurize it before, you know, the competition started. And, you know, basically line up the can, point it towards the goal, and just use like a solenoid valve to send off a, you know, a puff of air out of the tank. And hopefully, you know, there would be enough for 6 puffs to get it to the goal.
How big is this thing physically?
Let's see how big that one is. 2 parts, 12 volts. Okay. Yeah, just when you want it. Okay. Okay, so 5.5 by 7.5 by 6-inch diameter. So I think the this length may include this distance, you know, from the top to the bracket down here. So not that big. And the one that's 1 gallon it's just twice as long. So instead of 5.5 inches, it's about 10.5 inches. And
Because there is a size limit as well for the can competition, is there not?
Yeah, but I think it's 18 inches.
yeah, I thought it was 18 inches on the side.
I might be wrong, but I think that's about that.
That's
That's what comes to mind.
What's the weight on that thing?
I don't know if it says the weight. It doesn't say the weight. Anyway, so that's what I was thinking of using, because the little, you know, bicycle tire things are, you can get like 2 of the cartridges and one of the, you know, adapters to go, you know, screw your cartridge in and put it on a, you know, the tire valve to, you know, to fill it up. 2 cylinders, and, you know, the mechanism to actually, you know, go between the cylinders in your tire are like $15. So I figured, okay, well, that's like four tries or something. And that's why I wanted to go to something like this, where I could just fill it up with, you know, another compressor, or, you know, and do it that way.
And the other thing is, Ray, if you're going to get one of these, then you might as well get some horns for your robot as well.
A couple air horns, you think?
A couple of air horns.
There you go, right there.
They're only $30 more.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do it, go all the way, dude.
Yeah. Maybe I could use the pressure from the horn to blow the can across the room.
There you go.
You got a nozzle, right? It's already formed for you.
Yeah, yeah. So
probably there's a nice dispersion too.
Yeah, yeah. So doing it in my garage just with an air valve, it seemed to work pretty good. You know, it's like one of those, I guess you know, I guess just I described it as an air valve. You just use it to like blow things off of stuff or clean something, you know, whatever. But you know, so something, it doesn't take much to hit the trigger on those. So that's what I've been looking at. I also looked at small compressors at Harbor Freight, but I don't know, Harbor Freight, I'm afraid the thing wouldn't last a season, you know. So, but that's all contained, you know, it's got the compressor motor in the thing, so I could, you know, just before the contest, I could plug it in, let it develop the pressure, but they're I think like 6 gallon is the smallest one. It's pretty good size. I didn't measure, but I think it's over 18 inches long. So I thought kind of get just the right fit, a large enough tank that would hold enough air for 6, to shoot 6 cans, and but small enough to, not have to have hand truck tires underneath it to support it, kind of thing. So, and the only other mechanical thing I've been working on is the 4-wheel drive platform. I've got to I'm going to put some spacers in the back here for let's see if you can see that. Yeah. For these wheels, because right now there's nothing preventing it from shifting in. It's when it hits the sprocket, it stops right here. So it can't go. It's limited in travel that way, but not that way. And if it goes in too far, it hits the outside edge of the wheels, hits the platform. And I had planned to use shaft collars to lock it on, but didn't get that all assembled. So dug out the shaft collars and I just take it apart and put them on, and that should keep the shaft, from, kind of restrained in both directions. One, it's being pushed in, it's hitting the shaft collar, and then being pushed out, it's hitting the sprocket. So it can't really move that much. So, because there's a fair amount of, I guess it would be lateral force when you rotate the thing, because the tires are actually skidding a little bit. So it's gonna be pulling them and pushing them in and out. And if I don't restrict that, then it's gonna hit. So, or probably loosen things up, So, and the platform flexes a little bit. It's like a 1/2-inch sheet of, I want to say it's acrylic, but I don't really know for sure what kind of plastic it was. So it will flex. So anyway, so that's what I've been working on.
So Ray, while you were talking, Ed put a note in here suggesting that you can make a compressed air tank from PVC pipe. Now, there's something about this that just sounds dangerous to me, but
probably is.
Ed, have you done this before?
Might be on mute.
But
I think he is on mute. Yeah.
You probably could look up the specs on PVC pipe and see what pressure it will withstand. And then add a safety margin to that.
I was going to say, yeah, you can sort of, I'm thinking, because I've seen instructables where they use the PVC pipe and they'll use a 4-inch diameter by whatever foot to basically build a hot water shower thing for when you're going camping.
Just to force it through the line.
The air pressure, pushes the water out thing. And they'll do like 40 pounds of pressure and up, seemingly. To give you an ideal pressure.
Somebody say safety margin? What is that?
Safety margin.
There's the potato guns, right? All the plans to make a potato gun out of PVC pipe.
Right. So I suspect for that, it would do
T-shirt cannon.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking if I wanted to make it really small, you kind of have, like a PVC pipe arrangement with it, that gets restricted down to a small nozzle, and you inject in like just a little squirt of like starter fluid, then you have a spark plug to kick it off, So it'd be like
There's nothing in the rules against that.
Nope.
I saw a thing on the last scene of my YouTube channel. I saw a thing about, how when you got you need to inflate a tire. You know, that you put it on the wheel. You got to get enough air in it fast enough to grab onto the sides.
Yeah.
And a
Oh
lot of
yeah, to
people-
catch the bead.
Yeah, catch the bead. And a lot of people will get in and pour some gas or something and then set it on fire and boom in the middle of whatever. Well, these guys out there were developed the deal where they say most valves, when you go to turn them on, because when you go turn them on, even as fast as we are, we're not fast enough to it bleeds down. So they developed this, looks like one of those canisters you were showing there, Ray. And it's kind of got a trigger switch. It's a pressure differential operated thing. So it, you know, it's blink of an eye deal. And you're able to pressurize their container and literally shoot air into that tire cavity fast enough where it just does that without the explosion on it. I thought that was a really cool tool, man. Really cool.
Just as long as you don't do one of those, you know, the a lot of things happening pretty quick there. So
they had
like
a bazooka kind of thing. So all of your meaty bits were out of the way to make
okay.
So
the PVC pipe
Yep.
idea is interesting because I just looked up the working pressure rating of Schedule 46-inch diameter PVC pipe, and it's 180 psi, which is more than you get out of a compressor. So, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah. And then it just comes down to the glue and the fittings, right?
I don't know about where you guys are, but if I went to buy a chunk of 6-inch ABS or PVC pipe or whatever, ABS or PVC pipe and fittings to make a tank, it would become unaffordable very quickly, where it's much cheaper to go out and buy a compressor and strip everything off of it.
Yeah. Like I said, the cheapest one at Harbor Freight was like $70, I think, but it's got a pretty good sized tank on it, and I think it's over 18 inches. And I thought about that approach, and then I came across the air horn thing, and okay, that looks perfect. It's just enough, hopefully just enough air in it to,
Ray, did you look at those keyboard cleaners? They're supposed to be equivalent to air in a can.
No.
They're basically a lithium battery driven fan that spins up at a high speed. And
seriously, same air pressure as like an air nozzle off a compressor?
No, but like what you would see off of one of these little cam puffers.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's enough pressure. It needs a pretty good burst to get it to move.
How much does the gallon? It looked like the half gallon was $70. What does that gallon one cost?
I think the gallon one was actually less. I want to say 40 something. I don't know why it's not showing up. I looked at it several days ago.
Okay.
Ray, have you considered the air rifles? You can get the larger instead of the little 3-inch long cartridge. You can get the one that's whatever 10 or 12 inches long.
Yeah, but I don't know what the mechanism is in the gun to deliver the puff. So I don't know if it's a small valve or if it's really restricted because you're shooting like a pellet or a BB or something like that. But do you know of a good source for one? Maybe
Kijiji.
Kijiji?
Everything's cheap on Kijiji.
How do you spell that? Never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
No.
Kijiji. Well, maybe it's just Canadian. Kijiji. Kijiji.
Huh. No, never heard of it.
How's the directionality? How do you?
Maybe it's just Canada. I'm not getting a hit on the .com, just .ca. So I guess you guys don't have that. It's like a listing in towns, areas. So I could search my town, I could search my area, I could search the province, I could search all of Canada and see what's available. It's like a, I don't know, Auto Trader or whatever for all sorts of different things.
Oh, okay. Huh. Kind of like a general search engine or something.
There's one of those. We have one of those too. What is the name of it? It's real. God, it's been around for ages.
Craigslist?
Yeah, Craigslist.
It's like Craigslist, yeah. I thought Craigslist was for finding dates, though.
Well, it's multi-purposed.
I think it's for scams nowadays,
So's Kijiji.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
When you're meeting the guy to buy the car and you're not meeting him at his house or whatever, well, chances are I'll meet you over at the park.
Yeah.
Be concerned.
Yeah. In fact, it was happening so much in the United States. They suggested meeting at your local police department. So in case anything was shady going down, you'd have some policemen right there. So, yeah. So probably, unfortunately, Canada doesn't have the dibs on that one. It seems like it's everywhere. So
well, the latest scam in Canada is you decide as a Canadian, a snowbird, you say, let's go to Florida for the winter. So you pack up and you go to Florida for the winter, and then you come home and you find out your house has been sold.
Oh, really? God.
Serious.
Yeah.
House and contents sold.
Ooh. Yeah, I think that's been going on in Texas for a while too.
Just discovered as houses up here where last summer you buy a $460,000 house for $1 million. Well, people are making money off of it.
God. Anyway, so that's what I've been looking at. Just different things to.
There you go.
Okay, Ray. I got the deal. Have you seen these before?
I think I have, yeah.
These little air cannons. I don't have a good way to demonstrate it necessarily, but
okay, you got a small can there, can you?
I don't really have a can. I can put it in the those little puffy things and
moves a lot of air.
It moves a lot of air. Let's see if I do it. Shoot myself here. Watch my hair.
Close your eyes.
Oh yeah, see that?
See my hair? Every last
hair?
of it.
Yeah, that's not the best example, Carl.
I know, gosh, hey, Carl, it took that stuff in the middle right off.
Yeah.
I want the wig.
That's very powerful.
Okay, that's really getting okay. Here, let's. How
How
about
the
pole? Okay. Yeah, we'll do the. This is the tissue. Kind of hard to do anything once to see.
You need an assistant.
Oh yeah. You see that? Okay. That's a two-hand operation. I'm going to stop now. That was going nowhere fast. So Ray, on your air blast thing, how directional? I mean, if you found that it works with your little hand cleaner air nozzle thing, that if you aim it at the can, does the air go around and kind of move it the same direction you point, or does it?
Yeah, it does. Really? And if you think about it, the goal is what, like 3 feet wide. So if I can't hit that, but it's doing pretty good. I'm sure I'm going to have to do some testing, but yeah, it seemed, just in my garage, I could, like 100 PSI, like just I don't know, half a second, 3/4, no, probably more like half a second. It was just a real short burst. It would send the thing flying 20 feet. And it seemed to do, if you hit the can on the top, it would, kind of like tumble forward. And so I'm wondering if that's like, spin on a bullet, you get the bullet spinning and it's much more stable or something. So less, and I guess that's why they did that. Because bullets would tumble if they're not
Rifled.
Right? Yeah, spinning in that, like, I don't know which direction that is. But yeah, so, or hey, I could get really sophisticated and make the air spin out of the nozzle, and So I don't know if that would actually spin the can, but yeah, I wonder the PVC rating. I wonder if that was with threads or just a glue joint. I mean, because you think that glue joint would be, you better make sure you have one of the best glue joints around, because man, if that thing pops off, on a pretty good sized chunk of PVC,
Pipe bomb.
yeah, that's gonna push some air around.
Right?
Yeah.
Just thinking, another alternative possible way would be to tee it off like a football. Otherwise, you drive up to the can, you drop something like a popsicle stick or something to the top, tilt it back a bit, and then have a what do they call those, solenoid shoot the bottom.
Oh yeah.
And just kind of like flick it like you used to, when you used to play football with.
Oh yeah.
At lunchtime, where you'd flick it and they would try to get it on the edge of the table.
Yeah.
If you could do something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray.
I was gonna have mount the can gripper kind of low, because I am gonna have to, twist it around to point it towards the goal.
Yeah.
So I was gonna, grab the can by the bottom, kind of, point to what I think is the center of the goal, open the claw, and then hit it with a blast of air. So,
Ray, you could always use a rail gun.
Yeah.
doesn't that require something like a projectile on the rail, or?
Well, you could stop it at the end. You could have it where it would just shoot to the end of the rail and stop.
Oh, and like transfer kinetic energy or something.
Yeah. But the problem there, I think, would be the capacity. You'd have to, I think, I don't know if they charge the capacitors every time for every shot, or whether or not they can use a partial charge. I'm not sure how that would work. But
Well, you got to sequence a bunch of coils to collapse all in the right frequency.
Yeah.
Or the right
each one has
sequence,
got to
maybe?
add motion to the particle when it goes through.
Yeah.
Mm.
Slowing it down may be a little problem.
Yeah, you might have your robot do.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be, action reaction on the thing. Hopefully it won't, twist wheels off and things,
You need to put brakes on the thing.
Oh, there you go. It shoots the can forward, but it flips the robot backwards,
Well, anyway, that is something. I guess even with your setup that you're planning, you're going to have something about it. I mean, when you shoot when you pop your burst of air, it's going to have a reaction.
Oh yeah.
Depending on how much air is being actually used, you could mess. Your robot could really take off the other way.
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's action reaction.
I think somebody's going to have something to show too afterwards here.
Okay.
What you got, John?
This is my webcam is actually a do-it-yourself webcam based on a Raspberry Pi camera, an old version 1.2 camera.
Yeah.
And when you look at the LEDs on this illuminator that I built, if you just look at it visually, you can barely see a red glow.
Yeah.
But when you look at it through the camera.
Yeah, they're pretty sensitive.
Camera.
Infrared.
The old Raspberry Pi cameras do pick up infrared quite well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
They keep
Are those so bright that you could be damaging your eyesight? I know one isn't possibly, but how many you got there? 40 or something? Probably is.
Well, no, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you can damage your eyes with infrared, with near infrared.
Yeah, I think you can with UV.
Possible, but you'd have to go pretty bright.
I know I use all sorts of sensors that are considered a class 2 laser that are infrared light that aren't, in that kind of a beam.
Well, when I did infrared lasers in the military at TI, they were not eye safe.
Yeah. Well,
Basically, the collimated light would hit the surface of your eye, which would then focus it down to a point and burn a hole in your retina. So you not only could you not stare down the beam of those lasers, but you had to be careful to not catch glints off of optical posts and screws and things.
yeah. Optical coupler, not optical coupler. What are the
Fiber
optics?
Yeah.
They have to go through big training for that same purpose.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the end of a
Fiber. Yeah.
fiber, you can actually burn your eyes like that, Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Those are usually like 1550 though nanometers, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know what light they use.
I could swear the ones we did it was YAG lasers, so 9 and CO2, so it was in a 950 range, I think.
Yeah.
James was raising his hand. Was there something, James?
Yeah, I got, could you use a little guidance from you guys if you wouldn't mind?
Sure.
What I'm looking for is guidance on software development tools in operating systems. The first question I got, most of you guys use Linux as your operating system, or Windows, or?
Are you talking about on the robot
Windows.
itself? Or on the desktop?
And on, let's say you do your development on a desktop or a similar type of computer, and you're linked to a Raspberry Pi. Are you running Linux on your desktop or Windows, or what is the majority of you guys running? Windows?
It depends, I think, a little. It still depends on sort of what you want to do. Like if you're trying to do C programs on your Raspberry Pi, and you're developing on your PC, you want to use something that has a cross compiler on it. NetBeans is one that does that. There's multiple other ones. I'm just ones that I have experience with. So you develop it and then you just send it over to the Raspberry Pi and it's installed.
So I want to use Visual Studio Code.
Yes.
I want to develop one.
Yeah.
Yes. So
there's let's say I want to build with a Mega or some Arduino product. Do you guys use Platform IO or what do you use? Is that what you use, or
Platform IO here?
Yep.
Okay, but if you're using Visual Studio, you can either. There's two ways to program an Arduino with that. One, you can use it as an external editor, and you're really using the Arduino program to do the programming. That's one way. And the other one is Platform IO, which is different, and you organizes it. For example, you do have a setup in a loop, but it's in a main.cpp, and so it's a little different. It's not horribly different, but it is enough different. For example, in the Arduino environment, you don't need to use subroutine function protocols, because in the Arduino environment, all the files are actually bundled into one big file, so it can find any of the routines that you call. But in Platform IO, you got to have a prototype before you call it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So there's other things too, but those are some that just pop right out in my mind.
I believe you can also run Visual Studio Code on a Raspberry Pi. Although you probably want to run it on a Pi 3 or at least a Pi 3 or maybe a 4.
There's so many.
Go ahead, Carl.
There's a better way to do it, I think, than rather than run the VS Code editor on the Pi, there's a way to have a little like servlet running on the Pi. So what you do is, and this is how I prefer when I do Python on a Pi, is that I run VS Studio Code on my Windows laptop, and then it's kind of like a remote development thing. So basically, the VS Code IDE on your laptop attaches over a secure pipe to the servlet on the Pi. So then you're using all the editing and the screen, all the goodness of your laptop, but you're changing the file on the Pi itself.
Yeah.
And then whenever I make commits, I make commits using through VS Code on my laptop, but it's committing the repo on the Pi. When I push and pull up to GitHub, it's doing it from the Pi.
On your Raspberry Pi, what is the operating system you run on that? Do you use the Ubuntu
Noob
server, or do you use the Raspbian? Or
Raspbian, Noob, whatever. I mean, I haven't spent as much time as some of the other guys on the line though, but that, to me, that's the thing of with this remote development trick. I think that can kind of minimize the need to worry about what exact version you have on the Pi.
Yeah.
The heavy lifting you're doing, except for compiling and stuff, the heavy lifting is there on your all the design rule checking. That's on your local laptop.
Carl, do you run your Raspberry Pi in a headless mode then? Or do you have a desktop environment on the Raspberry Pi?
The
You know what I'm saying?
The latter.
You have a desktop environment on the Raspberry.
I don't go headless like some of the others on the line, but
you SSH into your Raspberry Pi from your
I still SSH in, yeah.
laptop, right?
Yeah, I mean it's headless from the point of view that it just sits there without a keyboard and monitor most of the time. But I shell in the VNC from my laptop or using VS Code.
Okay.
I think there's maybe three levels of computer that should be discussed here.
Yeah.
Only two have been discussed so far. The first is the desktop environment, and I bet if you took a poll of the people on the line, you'd find a 50-50 split between Windows and Linux on the desktop.
Okay.
And whether you use what development environment you use, VS Code or Platform IO or whatever, they both work on Linux and Windows. So you don't really need to pick that one tremendously. It's not a big deal. The next level down, I think, is what some of this discussion was around, which is the main autonomy computer on the robot, which a lot of people use an Raspberry Pi, a lot, but not exclusively. But of those who use a Raspberry Pi on the main computer, I'd say close to all of them would be running some flavor of Linux, be it Raspbian or Raspberry Pi OS or some other flavor of Linux. And then there's a compute level below that most people have, which is the sensor and actuator level. And a lot of people use Arduinos or ESP32 microcontrollers, or there's a whole bunch of different kinds of little bitty microcontrollers that do small jobs. And that often tends to be Arduino, but it can be a variety of other things, can be bare metal. So I think that would be how I'd answer that question.
Paul, I'm Jim, by the way. I don't think I had the pleasure of meeting you before. It's nice to meet you. I do some of your work that you did, and I admire it. My long-range plans is eventually moving to ROS 2 and in SLAM and stuff like that. But I got some other more basic stuff I want to tackle first. My development environment is I build my own computers, and I got these little guys. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those.
Is it a Nook?
Is that a latte?
They're called the Nook.
Nook.
And,
Yeah, Nooks are great.
Yeah, and I got 4 of them running through a KVM switch. One of them runs Windows 11. 2 of them are running different flavors of Linux, and the third one is running a operating system for Apple. So I can develop on any natively. I can develop on any one of those operating systems, and it's on this particular. In case you're interested, this is the real deal. If you're thinking of replacing your computer, you can run 5. I'm sorry, on this particular one, which is a V-Link, you can run 3 4K monitors off of this, and it's got M.2 storage in it. You can get it up to 2 terabyte. So it's got a lot of capability, and has 2 outputs on there. You can run 2 monitors off of the computer, which I do. I run it through a KVM switch, and it switches the audio and both leads for both monitors. So that's my development environment. I haven't done a lot of programming. I've done simple stuff like make a robot move across the room and stuff like that. But I want to get a Pi operating on a robot, and I think I want to use like a Linux flavor, say a Ubuntu server or Mate or something like that, because of the speed. They got a lot more speed when you run them headless. So that's my immediate plans, and that's where I'm heading on it. And I'm just kind of trying to get a flavor of what you guys use when you do your development work. I like working with Visual Studio Code. It has a lot of features. I like the idea that it has a lot of extensions you can bring in to aid into your development. So any suggestions you guys might have, that's what I'm kind of looking to do.
Yeah, I think if you're heading towards ROS 2, you would want to look towards Linux as your development environment. Now, I haven't used ROS 2 myself. I'm still on ROS 1, and I understand ROS 2 will run on Windows, but all the developers are basically Linux heads. So I think you're probably going to be better off for your development environment with Linux.
That's what I'm thinking. Start with Linux right away.
Yeah.
And, so I don't have to switch later on.
Yeah, but then the next 2 levels down, you really pretty much. And I've seen some people use those. I've seen one guy use those Nooks actually as the on robot autonomy computer.
Yeah.
And that's a nice, powerful computer to use on robot.
Yes, it is.
That is sweet. That is like way more powerful than a Raspberry Pi.
If anyone
How much
is
are those
interested,
Nooks?
if anyone is interested in the Nooks or what they can do or stuff like that, is you can call up the drone bot workshop it is. And the guy on there, he shows you how to build a workstation using Linux and how to load Visual Studio Code on it and all the rest of the tools. He recommends a couple of tools to put on there. So if anyone is interested in what the hell is a Nook all about, it'll be a good thing to look at.
Yeah, I used a Nook on a hardware in the loop simulator, simulating a truck, and it ran ROS 1, and it had a ton of power, and wasn't kind of like as physically bulky as
this one is 4 inches by 4 inches by an inch and a half.
Yeah, it's a nice platform. It really is.
Yeah, it's a great platform. The only thing that's lacking is typically when you build a tower computer, say for example, you got the CPU and GPU, and the GPU is a separate card that you plug into it, and you can buy however powerful GPU you want if you're doing gaming or something like that. Some of the Nooks do both of that off of one processor chip, both the GPU function and the CPU function. And so it lacks a little power in the GPU area. And You can't do a whole lot of powerful gaming with that and so forth. But for a development workstation, it really, really works fine. A lot of power. And the thing is, they don't take up a whole bunch of real estate. They're really nice.
Yeah.
Are they based on i7s or i9s? And how much do they cost? They sound like they're
Well, you can get them. The one I just showed you was about $325. And they will range up to maybe 600, 650 or something like that. And you can buy them in two flavors. You can buy them with it's called the kit, where they'll sell you everything except the memory, the storage, and the processor chip. And you can buy those separate. And that way you can equip them however you want. If you want a whole lot of storage in it, you could add an extra couple M.2 cards. So, and you can buy them with an AMD processor chip or an Intel processor chip, either one of the two. So it's kind of worth looking into if you're looking to replace your computer and, get into that area.
They're not really that cheap. They're comparable, it seems to me, in cost to a desk side computer, in a decent configuration, like the one that I had in the hardware simulator was, I think, a $1,700 config, because time you put 8 gigs of memory.
What did you say, Paul? How much was it?
I think it was around $1,700.
Yeah,
So it's desk side sort of pricing, and as Jim says, you can get them real cheap, down in the couple $100 range. But so it's got that range that you find in desk sides from like your basic surf the web computer up to full-blown graphics workstations, and it's priced about the same. Its big advantage is it's compact.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. And I got 4 of them just sitting here on behind my monitor, working through a KVM switch, and I just hit the switch, whatever computer I want to bring online, and it works like a champ.
I just got to I just got to buying this thing last month. It's a 7 Ryzen 7.
Yeah, that's a big link there too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's I paid $330 for that.
Right.
And it's got like 16. It's big. It's got a lot of. I just said I'm really liking it.
Did yours come with the operating system, Michael? Or did
it came with Windows 10, but I'm doing a dual boot. I got Linux, so I put Linux on it.
Okay.
And it came with a pretty good size hard drive. I forgot about everything it came with. But
yeah.
It came with a 500 gig hard drive, 16 gigs of RAM.
Yeah,
and I'm real happy with it.
You can get
I got a full boot. Huh?
You can get up to 32 gigabytes worth of RAM normally, and up to 2 terabytes worth of storage on it. So
the reason why I went to that from a desktop or whatever is I can hang that off of the back of my monitor. And because in my workshop, I got to move stuff around sometimes, according to what I'm doing. So I wanted to just hang the CPU on the back of the monitor and just move it when I needed to. So that's what I did. I hadn't done that yet, but that was my plan.
That's all I got, Carl. I was just looking for some guidance from you and you guys, and I appreciate all your help and suggestions.
We'll wait to see what you do with it.
Okay, Pat. I just went through 45 minutes on Raspberry Pi 3B with a SATA drive and a SATA drive enclosure. I just put in a link in the chat to 2 combinations of enclosure and drive that I've used successfully.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you very much. I'm just opening those up, taking a look.
Yeah, and the cases are typically about $20, and the hard drives are about $12. So
Which that amazes me that the enclosure for the hard drive is more expensive than the hard drive.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But the one that's been running for 45 minutes, I've had it doing a stress test, so it's out there exercising. So.
And that you're doing a test on a Raspberry Pi 3?
Yep.
Okay. Which one was that? Must have been something I said.
He unplugged himself.
We can't hear you, Doug.
I think you dropped.
Alrighty. Well, while we wait for Doug to reattach and plug back in, does anyone else have some stuff?
Yeah, I can show something that sort of interesting I'm looking at. You might
All right.
mind.
John's always got something.
Always got something.
Well, not always, but it does look interesting. So I'm like, okay. So there's this thing. Okay. And it inches along. Now, one problem you'll know is it only goes one direction.
No searing, huh?
No searing. So further down the line, you will discover he comes up with this interesting thing. So, and this is what I was going, okay. Yeah. So look at that. For a snake.
You know, I was just watching some of Bruton's stuff, and one of his most recent ones, he built I'm going to say generic controller. And that was really cool because what he was using RC things. He was making 12 channels. And that's not the most recent generic one, but it looks very similar to that. Except it's got 4 joysticks and a bunch more switches. And I had to go look up that video because I saw it. I went, that's really cool because all the parts were relatively inexpensive, 3D printed, this and that.
Right.
He was pushing 12 channels of PWM kind of thing going on there, or analog, whatever you want to do on the thing. You know, maybe, PWM digital, that kind of deal. And it looked like it was really, really functional on all the stuff.
Okay. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, and that shows how in drive mode. So yeah, that's one rear, and then the other rear one. I think, yeah, I'll have to go to a different window for that. So let me stop sharing and then share again. And that would be that one. Come on. And then here's another one for strange movement.
Oh, wow. Does it use a spiral?
Yeah, it's a real wire in the middle.
Pretty simple mechanism, huh?
Oh, yeah.
But it's like a screw, basically.
Right, it's a screw.
Screw bot.
Only problem, as I say, is it only goes in one direction. You can't turn it. It looks like. But that's real simple with one little motor on the end. So I don't know how accurate it would be, but
Works for caterpillars, huh?
That works for caterpillars.
They might have a couple extra degrees of freedom.
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, those are the two weird things sort of I saw.
That's cool.
So Pat, I don't know if you heard me, but it was the first one that's in the chat. The SATA.
Yeah, I just popped that Bruton generic controller video link in the chat. I thought it was pretty interesting, and not that I'm going to go out and build it right now. I've got other things going in the works, but it's something to probably hold on. That looked really, he does a lot of stuff that's really cool. A lot of it is a one-off thing that I know I'm never going to do, whatever that was. This looks like something useful, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's got a 3D printer humming somewhere in his house all the time.
He has several, and he has several. The Lowesbot guys get up in front of him dollars and support and stuff. He's got a big enough following where he's got several of those several of those nice Lowesbots, and they're printing all the time, doing something or another, that kind of work, that kind of stuff. It's good work if you can get it, that kind of thing. And but I thought the idea was cool where he's using off-the-shelf RC components, feeding stuff into them, and for the transmitters and receivers, and then using the stuff in the so the stuff in his robot is basically transmitting things and doing stuff and that kind of thing. I thought it was a good idea. How useful it is. Well, I ain't built one yet, so I don't really know, but it looked like it could be useful.
Yeah, hasn't he played around with cycloidal and harmonic drives?
Oh yeah, he does all that stuff and
quite a bit.
In other weird ways and blowing he does this weird thing that was cool about blowing air and ping pong balls up a ladder of things, but it really wasn't. He did some really cool experiments with movements of stuff and how air acts, because when it goes over stuff, it tends to hug things and push stuff and all those sorts of cool things. And some of them may actually be useful, but the actual experiments he's doing is more of this is an exercise and let's see how this works, as opposed to going to show you how to build something that you can put together and work with right now and do something useful with. He's a real smart guy. Does some cool things. There's no doubt about it.
What a life, too, getting paid to do what he does.
Yeah. Like I say, it's good work if you can get it. That whole thing there.
You can make it happen.
Of course, he's built lots of stuff like the big Iron Man suits and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know exactly how he's earned it, but I believe that he's earned all of that stuff that he's getting, because lots of stuff there.
Yeah, aren't those? Is it LootSpot or just Loots printers? They're
I thought it was Lowe's. Those things aren't cheap by any means.
No, like several thousand.
Yeah, a piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
In that range. And there's no telling. He gives the impression it's a one-man shop. If for the longest time, Linus Tech Tips, you sort of had the impression it was a one-man shop too, but he's got 30 people working for him. That's how he does all his stuff. And he may have a whole crew behind him helping him do all this stuff as well. I don't know, but you only ever see him. You don't see anybody else.
All right. So does anyone else have some more robot stuff?
I got something that's not robot-y if you're interested in update on the flow limiter thing.
Yeah, lead us off with a non-robot-y, then I'll throw in a non-robot-y. What do you got?
So I'll just share a picture. I had it under test, so hopefully, are you all seeing this video?
Yeah.
Okay. So on the right is the mechanics of the flow limiter, the water subsystem. The garden hose is hooked up to the flow limiter. So are you hearing that audio?
We are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So water comes in from the hose here. I've got a bypass valve in case you need to take some of it out of circuit. But the main flow goes through a filter here to catch, because it's rainwater, so there could be leaves and stuff in it. And then the flow sensor is in here. It's a little impeller. And then this is an electrically operated valve. And I discovered something interesting. Your normal solenoid operated valve can't be operated continuously. They'll burn up. You got to use a motor operated valve. And this one is a spring return. So you apply power and it closes the valve, and then if you release power, then the spring runs the motor backwards and opens it back up again. And then that goes off to the outlet, which goes off to my brother-in-law's farm. Hardware, and the flow limiter hardware is sensor. The flow sensor is wired to. You can see the power coming from a wall out there at Walmart, up to the left. This IoT device, which is currently a recording. Okay, so that's that little M5 stick that's running Arduino on an ESP32, and a little circuit board that I built. It was my first homemade circuit board, so I was quite proud of it, with a 12 volts good and a 5 volts good light. And then there's a light here for when it shuts the valve off and to inhibit flow. Zero, and the output of the flow limiter goes to a bucket, a 20-liter bucket. So we'll turn on the 15-liter bucket flow and allow it to pass. And water's flowing. And the flow limiter the flow sensor is recording 8.3 liters a minute. And we'll let 20 liters accumulate. And so then this has a Wi-Fi client of Amazon Web Services running on it, and it sends so the AWS block diagram looks like this. You've got the flow limiter there, the M5 stick thing, Wi-Fi connected over MQTT up to Amazon IoT Core, which has some rules that send the data off to an S3 bucket, and then Athena is a database, and then it's going to go to QuickSight. At the moment, I've got it going to Grafana in the cloud, and it also goes to events that generate a email alert through Amazon simple messaging service. Simple SNS, simple notification service, something like that, to send emails and texts to me and my brother-in-law if the flow limit is exceeded. And the cloud queries the data from S3 and produces a cumulative daily flow total that looks like this, and as well as 15-minute by 15-minute segments of flow rate, and then the cloud lets you zoom in to different sections and zoom in. So that's all I got, but it's coming along.
So hey, Paul, did you have to pressurize it from your collection tanks, or do you just use the? Yeah.
He does have a pump that pressurizes it to like normal, like 50 or 80 psi or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, the tanks weren't elevated to where it was going to be used, so you couldn't
Correct.
use. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
The tanks are at ground level. They're fed from the roof, or the gutters on the roof of his shed that's adjacent to the tank, and then runs through poly piping down to all the troughs on the farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's been a fun project, but it's in less than a week. We're headed off to New Zealand, and it needs to be done by then. So the pressure's on to actually like make sure it works and make sure it works right. Anyway,
So is he watering a specific crop or something, or?
He's got cattle. He's got like a gentleman's ranch with 10 or 15 acres and runs a dozen head of cattle or so. And that's the problem because cattle are strong and they like stick their heads in and bash around and break the ballcock valves in the troughs, and then ballcock valves open and water runs freely and overflows through the trough and can drain his rainwater tank in a few days.
Yep. Yeah, we just use their like float switches on the tanks here when.
Yeah, that's what he uses too.
Yeah.
And as you I don't know if you've got cattle, but if you do, you probably know they can destroy stuff.
Oh yeah, very quickly. Yeah, we don't own it. Don't own cattle. We lease the land to a guy that does. And basically, we don't have to mow the 15 acres. So
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's been a fun project, and I've learned a lot about cloud, which I've not done much with, and my first circuit board, which was really fun and interesting, and a bunch of stuff.
And you got something of value at the end of it that helps somebody.
Yeah, I hope. I hope it'll work well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the rates that we have to buy water, we were going to get a 3,000 gallon tank and use the roof surfaces of the metal building and the house. Which with the amount of rain that we get, you could easily fill up a 3,000 gallon tank. But the tanks are pretty expensive, and it's borderline as to whether it's cost effective or not. We could, I think it took more than 10 years to pay it back.
Oh wow!
Based on what water costs us out here.
Oh, so you have city water out there?
Well, yeah, it's West Leonard Water Supply. There's a guy that strung supply pipes down our road, and if you wanted to hook onto it, it was $2,500 to do that, a one-time fee.
Yeah.
And
and then you pay
water
rates. Yeah, he doesn't have access to any like central supply of water. Rainwater is all he's got. So he's got a 20,000 liter tank, which I guess is about double the 4,000 gallon, the 3,000 gallons that you were looking at. Big old thing. And a pump sitting under it that pressurizes the line going down, that pumps water out to the farm.
Yep. Yeah, in Eastern Australia, it seemed like everybody had a pretty good sized collection tank. And I'm assuming it's, they get a lot of rain, just in a part of the year, and then it's
on dry.
Yeah. New Zealand's a pretty wet place, and they get plenty of rain there, and so but if he runs out of water and the cattle got no water to drink, then that's a problem. He has to buy water. In the summer you get three months of fairly dry weather, and you got to feed those cattle water.
Yep. Yeah, there was a pretty severe drought last summer, and instead of hay being like at round bales $50, they go up to $175, and then All the smaller ranches, decide, okay, time to take the cows to slaughter. And, then, everybody does it. So it drives the prices down. So it's kind of like a lose-lose situation with the drought. You're either buying very expensive hay or you're selling your cows for next to nothing.
Oh.
So, but I don't know if he experiences that there, but
Well, you sound like you got the perfect situation that you let someone else use the land and take all the risks, and you just sit back and rent it to them.
Well, we don't make much on leasing the land, though. It's it's next to nothing. I mean, I think we were doing. God, I want to say 50 an acre. It doesn't sound right, though. It's probably 50 for the whole thing per month, or 60 now. I think my wife increased it. Yeah, I think it is per month. We have a pond. The cows will drink the water out of the pond. But we also, have a water trough that, is on comes off our water supply. So, and cows can drink like 40 gallons per day. So, yeah, it's a lot of water.
Is that per cow or for the whole bunch of them?
No, per cow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. So 160 liters.
Yep. It's a lot. So,
interesting.
And then if we do it primarily for the ag exemption, because if you're using it for agricultural purposes, you get taxed at a much, much lower rate. It's like next to nothing. But if you don't, it's like taxed at, is, I don't know.
Yeah. A lot.
Yeah. A lot higher. So that's why we do it, but everything is expensive. You get it seeded, you get it sprayed for weeds, you get, sprayed for pesticides. Each one of those things is like, several $100s, a shot just to do 14 acres. So it does save us in taxes, though.
Farmer Ray.
Rancher Ray.
Rancher Ray. Sorry. In New Zealand, they call ranches farms.
Oh, do they? Okay. Yeah. Yep. Don't plant anything. Just let some cows eat our grass. That's it. So.
Cool.
Okay. I got something even more off topic from robot things. So, I think probably most of us fly around on airplanes now and then. And I don't know about y'all, but I get a kick from just seeing the different ways that different airlines dress their flight attendants and how the flight attendants behave. And wouldn't you know, but somebody made a video to summarize it for us. So here we go. Oh, no, it's not going to. Okay, let me let's try this over again. It's not broadcasting fast enough. Okay, bottom line is, I just hit send. There we go. Hawaiian.
Very zen, huh? Singapore.
Billy Club.
This is pretty spot on.
Southwest, she's got a little heart box and everything.
That's the best ball right there. Okay, anyhow, I'll put the link in there. That's all I got.
That's excellent.
I got to fly back from Pittsburgh on in the middle of the ice storm.
Ooh.
So I was one of the few who managed to land. My brother-in-law works for American, said 25,000 people tried to land in DFW and couldn't, but I was one of the few that got in that day. Of course, we left Pittsburgh and got almost to Dallas, and nope, no landing. So we landed in Tulsa. And okay, here's another safety briefing. Let's take off. Nope, missed the window. Here's another safety briefing. Nope, missed the window. So a couple more times we finally made it. 3-hour flight turned to 10-hour travel.
Ooh. Yeah, the flights that my wife and I have been on have just been jam packed. I mean, there's not a single empty seat on them. That was like going back and forth to Florida a couple times. We were jammed in, but no delays, thank God. I think that would be. I'm not the most patient person. It's like, okay, we're renting a car and we're getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, it gets tiring after a while.
Yeah.
That's every flight in Canada is jam packed. If they need 5 flights a day, they send 4 planes.
Oh boy.
And they're all packed. Every seat's sold. And just a disaster. Your luggage doesn't make it. Air Canada's motto is, we're not happy unless you're not happy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know who you flew on. Oh, you said American?
I do. Yeah.
Carl? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this was United. So, but yeah, it's like not a spare seat. It's amazing.
No. Flight attendants with billy clubs. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. I didn't mean to totally tear up your meeting.
Oh, I do have a little bit to report. I mean,
nobody good
here. I have a little bit here.
Take it away.
I've been. You weren't here last week, Carl, but I was introducing everybody to my friend Jeremy McCain, who knows Sir Richard, as in Branson.
Oh.
And they're partnered up with this company called J Space, and he's looking for ideas. He has opportunity to get something shot up in the low Earth orbit, like a CubeSat, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's looking for some ideas and stuff. And Parim came on and said, "Hey, you know," I said, "Send me some info. Send me some info where I can hook you two up." And I know they're at least exchanging emails on the thing. And he said the kids got really excited that they could do something. Had like 500 messages on their Discord about ideas and stuff and those kinds of things. And whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know. But I will tell you, this Jeremy's done some stuff that there's no way you're doing that, and by God, he did it. So he's done that a lot. I've known him for a very long time, 20, 30 years. And he sits around in a hot tub with Richard Branson. So what the hell? I mean, not that I'm trying to be all like being all innuendo.
A guy that knows a guy. Huh?
He knows a guy, yeah. And so if he goes, yeah, it's like 50 grand a kilogram or something or whatever it was. I forget. We looked it up and I forget what it was. But he goes, yeah, but we can probably get that sponsored. We just need an idea that's good. And so maybe those kids at Iron Rain have an idea, and I know they're talking. I just wanted to spout that back out here that there is, I got them talking, whatever happens now, whatever happens now. But,
cool.
I thought it was a cool opportunity.
Nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully Iron Rain's project was not a big weather balloon.
Actually, what he was kind of discussing with one of the leading things was, how do we tackle space debris? So the idea, if we had a little bitty CubeSat that had other little bitty things that would just float around and attach and grab all the little stuff, and pull it in, and then you grab, you start collating stuff somehow, and then you make those little bitty things bigger things, and then you can sweep up the bigger things or something. I didn't read it all exactly, but I thought that was the gist of what he was talking about. And at least that was one of the ideas. They were floating around doing things.
I think the great Woz is founding a company to do just that.
Really? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
To collect space junk?
Space junk company, yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, by the way, if you have, is it Netflix? I think it's Netflix. The Korean sci-fi people have been doing some crazy cool stuff. And one of the movies there, this is totally non-robot. Well, there's a robot in the movie. So, okay, this is robotics. There is a movie out called Space Sweepers. And it's a totally wacky out name. It's Korean sci-fi, but it is right on par with every other sci-fi thing. And it's essentially what it is remember when you do sharecropping back in the day where you'd pay the person just enough in company script to not die? Well, imagine that doing that with space, and they're doing salvage. So that's what these folks do. And the story is interesting, it's compelling, it's a good story. And so if you're looking to watch something on Netflix, go look up Space Sweepers and put that on your to watch list. It's a good show.
Cool.
For whatever that's worth, from the Herald Pulitzer Review of whatever.
Pulitzer Review, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Of what's on Netflix.
What's on that? I wasn't trying to do that. It's just we were sweeping up space, and we said it a couple times, and the neuron went, and it came out.
Oh, good. All right.
God, I thought Wozniak faded into the, I don't know, ether. I guess
he's going strong.
Still out there.
Yeah.
Doesn't he do like Coachella or some kind of big musical event every year? Or didn't he do one of those for a year, Southern California?
I don't remember that one, but he for a while there he was going to a lot of different like digital. I saw him at a digital advertising conference, and he was going around different places, and he's a member of Makerspace out in Cupertino, I guess, and getting the sun going and things. Wouldn't that be something to have the Woz in your robot club? Yep. Okay. Well, guys, anything else for tonight? All right.
Nope.
Well, barring anything else, I guess there's did anything happen? Is there a Saturday meeting while I was out? Did one of those get scheduled? Probably
not.
not.
To my knowledge.
Okay. All right. Still nobody just jumping up to beat the club forward this year. So okay.